Spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. We're going to talk about Love is Blind season 5 today, you guys. So if you haven't seen this season and you don't want to know some of the juicy details, bookmark this video and then come back, because we're going to get into some of the tidbits, the ins and outs of the season, and I'm going to give you guys my opinion, and then you guys let me know yours, okay? So I am an avid Love is Blind watcher. I was a little bit late to this season. However, in the last 2 days, I have binged watched. I'm on episode 10. And I don't know if episode 10 has even been released, so I might be up to date. They did this season a little bit different because they normally release the whole season and then, they kind of wait a little bit for the reunion. But they're kind of piecemealing this season, which is fine. It gives you something to look forward to. But I'm not going to review every episode of this season. I just want to talk about the nuts and bolts. And I want to talk about how it might be time, y'all, for us to let Love is Blind go. It might be time for the series to go away. I doubt that will happen, but I will tell you why. The reason why I say that is because I think it's not as authentic as it was in the first, let's say, two, 3 seasons. Specifically, this season and last season, I feel like there were a lot of imposters, posers, people that were on there that just wanted to be famous. And, that takes away from the dynamics, from the surprises, from the spiciness of the series when people have ulterior motives and they just go on the show because they want to be famous and they really have no intentions of finding love. I think that we have some culprits in this season that are doing that. And then, obviously, if you've seen this season, I'm sure you know who I'm referring to. So let's jump into it. So one thing that I love about this season, I will say this. There were lots of twists and turns. Now, some of those might be, again, inauthentic, but they kept us on our toes this season. I do like that aspect. And I also like that they're putting more Black people on here. This season, I don't want to say half the cast. I would say there was a good 7 or 8 Black people, 6 or 7 Black people on this season versus, let's say, the other seasons where there's maybe 3 or 4 Black people max. And I feel like a lot of the people the brown girls, the brown guys, they were kind of dominating the storyline. So that is what I do like about it. But I will say this, y'all, I don't like anybody. And when I say anybody, this is not a likable season. Doesn't mean that the season hasn't been interesting and hasn't been action-packed. But normally, like in the past seasons, there's at least one person you gravitate to. You're like, oh my God, she's so sweet. He's so sweet. I love him. I hope whatever. I don't feel like that about anyone. It was Aaliyah, I'm not sure how you pronounce her name. It was her, but then she did some missteps and she made some foolish decisions as well. And we'll kind of talk about that. And I won't say I dislike her, but like I was really rooting for her, and then like I feel like she played herself. I kind of like Milton a little bit, but something, I don't know what it is. Like he hasn't done anything. He's probably the most likable person. However, I can't grasp really, really liking him. I don't know if it's like his doofy demeanor. He'd be like hunchback. We know he has his issues with his spine and things that he's talked about, back issues, surgery and stuff. So that really is terrible. But still aesthetically, I'd be want to like pop him in the back and make him sit up straight. It's like, I don't know what it is about Milton. That's not a reason to dislike him. So I'll say Milton is the likable one. So let's talk about some of the matches. So we have Uche and we have Aaliyah. So they are the quintessential like Black couple, beautiful, dark skin, chocolate skin. Just both of them are absolutely gorgeous. Both of them are very educated. Uche is a lawyer. Aaliyah is a nurse. And they connect. They're digging each other. And then I believe it was episode 1 or 2 where Aaliyah told Uche that she had cheated in a previous relationship. Let me tell y'all something. That was the most awkward conversation that I've ever seen in my life. Seeing her struggle in that conversation was so hard. I wanted it to be over. Uche was not letting up. She was explaining herself, saying, I made a mistake, which you know it happens. And he was like, well, why did you do that? Well, did you tell him the truth? Well, how do you think? I mean, I think that you think that you felt bad for him, but I think it was really you felt bad about yourself. It was just so hard to watch. And then when she told Uche that it had been 2 years ago that she cheated on her ex, child, I thought that they were done. So, Aaliyah left one of the dates. She left the pod. She went and she confided in Lydia, who is the spicy Puerto Rican girl. We'll get back to that. She confides in her. She's crying in Lydia's shoulder. And she's saying, oh my God, he's so judgmental. What do I do? How do I handle this? And, Lydia's like, girl, the way she consoled her was any way that a woman would console their friend in this situation. Like, you don't deserve that. He's being judgy. You remind me of myself. And then it's like, well, what does that mean? Okay. And she's like, you don't need to deal with that. You need to, tell him what's on your mind. You're better than that. So, after that, Uche and Aaliyah, they kind of work through it. Aaliyah kind of goes and tells Uche, like, look, this is how I feel. You made me feel this way. I don't think it's fair that you judge me like that. And I need to be able to be comfortable with talking to you about things, or this is not going to work. And Uche agreed. They kind of, they reconcile. They work through it. They move forward, right? So then, everything. So the premise of the show is, love is blind. You date in these different pods. And then, the hope is that you make a connection with someone. And then at the end of a certain amount of time, the man either proposes to the woman or he doesn't, and then they get engaged without seeing each other. And then they see each other. And then obviously, you're hearing the person's voice, you're connecting with them. But sometimes when you see that person, the dynamics change sometimes they don't. So I say that to say that is what the goal is. So after the argument, Uche and Aaliyah move forward and things look like they're gonna progress. And then Uche, he says, girl, I gotta tell you something. So Aaliyah's kind of like, okay, well, what's going on? And Uche's like, well, I dated someone that's here. And so she's like, what? Y'all, when he told her it was Lydia, I almost peed on myself. I said, I know you lying. Not Lydia, who she's been, Aaliyah's been crying in Lydia's bosom. Not that Lydia. So then they flash back, to show us like what really happened. I think when like the first day when they started dating, Lydia and Uche were in the pod. Obviously, for example, if I broke up with my boyfriend today, I don't care where we went. If we went to Africa, if I hear his voice, I'm gonna know it's him. So, you know what I'm saying? So Lydia has a very distinct voice. Uche has a distinct voice. They realized who each other was. And then, but they decided, okay, look, we came here for an experiment. Let's actually do the experiment. Let's not date each other. Let's just see if we can meet other people. But I'm going to be honest. We're going to talk about that. I feel very confident in saying that Lydia wants Uche. She wants that old thing back. She loves him. She misses him. It's evident, as, the season has progressed. And I think I want to do another video on the blow up that happened later with Lydia and Uche. I think I'm going to do another little video about that, because that kind of confirms what we've all been thinking. Sorry, y'all, my nose is itching. Which is that Lydia is in love with Uche. She's in love with him. And then, when she's been like stalking his life, which is nuts. So anyway, but what I really want to say, so he tells Aaliyah, and obviously Aaliyah, she actually handled it very, very well. And then I was very impressed, because I don't think that I would have been as diplomatic as Aaliyah was. When she left, she was visibly, she was upset. She went and she asked, she went to Lydia and said, I know. And so they cried together. So obviously Lydia knew what she meant. And then you know, she's like, they start talking, and every at first it was okay, and then like Lydia starts saying, well, girl, you know, he fine, and he has a banging house and a great car, and his dog loves me, and you know, his mama love me, his cousins love me. Like, it's like, okay, girl, you don't need to tell me all that. And it was crazy because Aaliyah kept telling her, okay, well, I don't need to know anymore. And like Lydia just kept going. And that was the moment I knew she was still in love with Uche. I said, oh, she loves him. Like the way she was talking about him and his accolades and just like their experiences together. And then she dropped another bomb and said, well, girl, you know, I just slept with Uche 3 months ago. So obviously that messed up Aaliyah's head. And so Aaliyah goes back and tells Uche, and once again, they talk about it, and then it seems like they move forward. But then a couple days later, when they start proposing, Uche was ready to propose to Aaliyah, and Aaliyah left without telling him. He had one of the producers call Aaliyah, and then they talk on the phone, and Uche, I will say this, I agree with him. Well, how you just gonna leave without talking to me? I understand. Look, this is the situation we're dealing with. We decided to move forward. You letting this chick get in your head, and you just dip out and don't talk to me. And then Aaliyah, at that moment, that's when she started getting on my nerves, because it's like, then she's like, well, I love you, I still want to be with you. And it's like, well, why did you leave? Like, why did you leave? Because from a man's point of view, and he's right, it looks like, okay, when stuff gets tough, you're just going to leave. That's how you handle things. And if we're going to get married, like, we can't move forward together in a relationship like that. So, yeah. So they kind of, they parted ways at that particular moment. They parted ways or whatever. And then, so in the midst of all of this, Lydia initially was dating Izzy, which I cannot stand him. At first, Izzy, I was like, oh, he's fine. He's like really, he's like Mexican, and I don't know what, he might be mixed with white, but he's like fine, banging body. I'm not really big on bald heads, but he was fine. But then you started to see like he had some bitch assness in him, just with how he handled his relationships with like Johnny, which Johnny, he really liked her, and then he kicked her to the curb for Stacy. But first, he kind of connected with Izzy. That's who Izzy was really feeling. Well, Izzy really was in love with Uche. But outside of him, Izzy kind of was feeling, Lydia, I'm sorry. Lydia, we know she's in love with Uche. But outside of him, she was feeling Izzy. But then Izzy like deaded their connection quickly. I will say this. Izzy, I don't like him. Because I just think he's gossipy, he's like catty. You know what I'm saying? We saw that, when they left the pods. But I will say this. I like that how he cut stuff off with people. He didn't leave people on and just let it drag out. Regardless of how he did it, he did cut people off. So he did cut Lydia off pretty quickly. And when he did that, her other connection was Milton, which is like the really tall, he's like 6'7", dorky looking black guy, but very smart. The one that I said that's really likable, she kind of connected with him. Now, let me just say this, y'all. I don't care what none of y'all say. Lydia don't like Milton for real. Lydia wants to be on this show. And this is why when I posed that question in the beginning of, how long should the show continue? Because now people are just coming on the show for clout. They want to be famous. They want to be Instagram famous. Which is fine. But like, it takes away from the integrity of the show. And Lydia is a prime example. Lydia, well, I think it was twofold. I think she went there following Uche because it came out later, since obviously her and Uche had been dating on and off for years, for like 2-3 years. It came out that she found out somehow that Uche was going on the show, and that's when she tried out. And just happenstance, she made it on the show, and she knew he was coming on the show. Which is like, that, again, taking away from the integrity. We don't want people on the show that have dated or know each other. So, Lydia, you're following somebody on the show that you're in love with, that you want to be with. You're following to like keep tabs on them, or whatever weird reason you wanted to follow him on the show. And then it's like, you don't really like Milton like that. like, and she's very smart, a geologist, whatever, but you don't like Milton. So she's dating Milton, they connect, Milton ends up proposing to Lydia. When she sees him, I would say this though, Lydia, you good, girl. You got a good poker face. You're good at faking. Cause I can see all through that. Milton's not attractive. Like, he's cute because he's like geeky and stuff, but he's not like fine. Like, he's 6'7". I probably weigh more than him. He probably weighed about 155. Like, he's scrawny. He's 24, she's 30. Like, what do you see in him? Like, stop. But she was pretending, that she was attracted to him, kissing all over him. Lydia understood the assignment. She wants to stay on the show. So Lydia and Milton meet each other. Obviously, she's beautiful. So, he's like jackpot. You know what I'm saying? So they connect. And then we have, put them to the side. Then we have the situation with Izzy and Stacy. Okay, remember I was telling you Izzy initially liked Lydia. He, found a deeper connection with Johnny, which Johnny played herself. Then, he kind of told Johnny, I don't want you. Then he ends up, picking Stacy. So Stacy is like the blonde, all-American girl, blonde hair, blue eyes. She's beautiful. Has money, is very established, teaches Pilates, has a great career outside of that. She has a beautiful home, all of these things. And like Izzy is like sells insurance. I'm not shading people that sell insurance because that you can be very lucrative, but it's giving. I don't think he has any money, you guys. Did they talk about that? I don't remember if they really went and delved into Izzy's finances. But did somebody say his credit score is like 550? I don't know. I thought somebody said that. You guys will let me know if I'm going crazy. But they're not equally yoked. And it's evident, he proposes to her. They see each other. They're both good looking. They like each other. And then when they go, the couples go to Mexico after that just to kind of, have one-on-one time to connect. And what's the other couple that went to Mexico? It was Izzy. It was Izzy and Stacy, Milton and Lydia, and then the other couple that I forgot their names. That was dreadful. That man would not even talk to her. Y'all, please come and drop down in the comments because I forgot the other couple's names. That was hard to watch too because that man wouldn't even speak. She did the right thing, girl. Like, we connect in the pause, you propose, and then we get into the real world and you like won't even talk to me. Like, that was really, really weird. But anyway, so when they go to Mexico, I saw a different side of Stacy. She was more mean, right? Is he stupid? He's like really, like, I do not, Izzy and Lydia are my least favorites from this season. I don't know, because I don't like men that are catty. Like, he was just so catty. And after they left Mexico, when Johnny came back, we found out Johnny and old boy ended up reconnecting after the show, which is crazy because I would have never. Johnny, she played herself because she told him no, and then, excuse me if I don't remember everybody's names, y'all, I'm sorry. And then she really wanted Izzy, and then when Izzy kicked her to the curb, she came back to him and all of that. So they ended up reconnecting after the show, and then, all of them get together, even Uche came, and, I don't like the way that Izzy, like, attacked her. It's like, Izzy, why are you attacking Johnny? You picked Stacy, like, who cares? Because he was like, Stacy, you were lying. Johnny, you were lying to me. And then you were telling Chris or whatever his name, whatever. Why were you doing that? And it's like, dude, back up. Like, relax. And she said it. She's like, well, why do you care? Like, you have who you have. I'm not bothering y'all. Do your thing, whatever. And that's when I really started not liking him. I was like, oh, you're like a bitch. Like, okay. That's what we doing? So, we're at the point now where, they're meeting all the couples. Now we still have, now we only have now Izzy and Stacy, and we have Lydia and Milton. Remember, the other couple didn't last past Mexico. And then we have some interminglings of the other ones. We saw, Uche have a conversation with Aaliyah, where Aaliyah, she tried to like get back after they left the show. And Uche was like, nah, like, I'm not feeling that. Like, you left, and I don't want someone who, when it gets tough, is just going to leave. And he's right. And that's when I was like, okay, I was with you, Aaliyah, until you did that, because he's right. Regardless of, you guys decided to move forward. Why are you letting Lydia get in your ear and make you change your mind? And on top of that, you didn't even talk to me. Like, you ghosted me and left. If Uche hadn't called the producer, he wouldn't have spoken to her. Like, she didn't leave a note, a telegram, a singogram, or anything. Like, she just left, and then he had to like hunt her down, have the producers call her. So now, and then you know what he has said? He said that when they left, that like Aaliyah followed him on Instagram, then unfollowed him, and then followed him again, and then unfollowed him, and then sent him a message, and then unsent it, and then called him and blocked him. It's like, girl, you're giving unstable. Like, he was like, this looks crazy. Like, I don't want no parts of that. You left and handled it the way you did, and now you keep doing all this weird stuff. He was like, no, I'm good. Like, I'm good on you. And I don't blame him. Like, because not only did you do that, it was your behavior after. If she had just probably called him like, hey, whenever you have time, let's talk. He might have reconsidered it, but then you blocking me every other day, doing all this weird stuff, sending me messages and unsending it. Like, I don't have time for that. Like, I'm not doing this with you. And I think that Aaliyah had played herself. So that's just, the bottom line. So it'll be interesting to see, like, how sometimes this was filmed years ago. So who knows? Uche and her could have rekindled by now, because we've seen it in other seasons. So I guess, we'll see how that all plays out. But anyway, so we're at the point now where, Lydia met Milton's family. And I love Milton's family. Was like, they saw right through her. They're like, your answers are too perfect. Everything seems thought out. It's just, Lydia's not genuine. And his sister was like, this ain't it. And, Milton was like, stop, be cool. She's like, no, like, why are you marrying her? And his mom, you could just tell, like, I love them. They were like, nah, because they're like, basically, what do you see in him? He's 24, you're 30. There's a lot of things about, he's just not ready for marriage yet. And they said, nah, this is not real. Like, this is phony. His sister literally was like, y'all are being phony. And I do believe that. I think maybe Milton, he might like Lydia, but Lydia, I guarantee y'all, if they have gotten married, if they even got married, because I don't think they released the episode yet, episode 10. If they have got married, I guarantee you they're not married still. Absolutely not. I would bet, I ain't gonna say I'm gonna bet my life, but I would bet $25 that they not married. But yeah, Milton's family saw right through Lydia. Izzy met Stacy's family, and Stacy met Izzy's family. I mean, Izzy's mom seemed skeptical at first, and then she seemed to come around and like Stacy. Stacy and Izzy argue too much for me. They like every episode they're getting into a big argument and then making up and get into argue. It's too much arguing. Like, y'all are arguing way entirely too much, and y'all have only been dating 2-3 weeks. So that's why I don't think they're gonna last. I think they actually care about each other, but I don't think that Izzy's gonna be able to step up for Stacy in the way that she probably needs him to, because he's not making the money. He's not on her level. She already said, I got money. I need you to, come correct. And then he was like, yeah. She was like, I understand this may be splitting the bills, but when we go eat dinner and stuff, you need to pay. And he was like, well, we can't go half. She was like, no, we're not going half. Girl, he's trash. I don't really like you either, Stacey. I mean, because it's just, I think you're kind of mean, and I don't like that. However, you seem to keep it real. You say what you mean and mean what you say. And I just think that Izzy's not on your level. So, excuse me. But yeah, so far, there's some other videos that I kind of want to come back and do and talk about with Love is Blind. But again, I like this season because of the twists and turns, and I love the diversity of this season. But there's nobody on this season I would like follow on Instagram or like want to know more about their personal life. I don't like anybody. And then I do feel as though they need to be careful with their casting in the future, because I'm sure they'll have a season 6. Because I don't think that the characters and the cast are genuinely wanting to come there for love. I just don't. And then, side note, y'all, they just said on the blogs that there's a whole couple that we didn't even get to see and we don't even know I don't know if we know their names, but they're saying there's a couple that they scrapped them from the whole season because there's some sexual harassment stuff going on. So this season's a mess. But anyway, I just wanted to come and talk to y'all about this season. Again, hopefully I didn't spoil it for you. Hopefully you saw my spoiler alerts in the beginning of the video. But you guys, drop down in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. Have you seen this season? Do you watch Love is Blind? If you don't, you should, because it's actually a really good show. But yeah, like, subscribe, share. Let me know what you guys think. And then I do want to come back and do more of a deep dive on that conversation between Lydia and Uche, because Lydia, she loves him still. I don't care what nobody says. But anyway, you guys have a great rest of your Saturday, and I will talk to y'all soon. Bye-bye.